Coach, you've certainly had teams with high expectations, but this year feels like it's a totally different ballpark. So much coming back, really good transfers coming in. I guess, have you ever had a team that's had to deal with some of the things that this team is, and how is this team handling those expectations?
For us, really, we didn't have everybody in the summer. I think that was we had a couple visa guys waiting on getting their visas. We had 2 guys coming off surgeries. Daniel played with USA Basketball, so he was gone for 3 to 4 weeks there. So that was a little bit different. We tried to get a lot of stuff done in the summer in terms of getting, just installing offensive stuff and kind of going from there. But no, it's been good though. Like here in the fall, like it's been good to get everybody together. And when you have a great backcourt and a great front court, better get some coaching. I think but blending it together, like our margins are a little bit different. Outside of like losing like Braden or TK, like we have a lot of guys that can play. We have 12 guys on scholarship, and all 12 of them have played well. And I don't think I've ever been in that situation as a coach where you're like, you feel comfortable playing everybody.
It's your 21st year at Purdue, which makes you the second longest tenured coach in the Big Ten. Is that hard for you to believe?
I was just talking about it, like in coaching, like you're young or you're old. Like there's nothing in between. So I'm old. And like when you look at it from that perspective, like you got to keep growing and you got to keep learning. And I think that was something from like even last year when like we tried to make the necessary changes because we had some glaring holes. We didn't have rim protection. We didn't have a lot of size. And then with that, we became really good on offense with our group, but we had to try to kind of manipulate some different things. So I think that's what, like being in a league a long time, like you learn from, your experiences, you definitely learn from your losses, but you learn from great coaches. Like we have great coaches in our league. I've stole a lot of stuff from those guys, but you also learn a lot from them, from watching them compete against our next opponent and taking stuff from them.
Braden Smith goes from a 3-star recruit, albeit in COVID, so like the recruitments were kind of weird, but he is now probably the best player in college basketball. What's it been like to coach him, and why has he been able to make a jump like this to where he goes from a good player to now an elite player?
Yeah, I just think, he impacts winning more than anything. Like, his ability to pass the basketball, like who doesn't like to play with a great passer? Everybody loves to play the game with somebody who can pass the basketball because they're going to help you out. You're going to get more shots. We're all selfish. And so with him, like I think like the next step is being an elite defensive player. Like he's always been able to make plays. He has great instincts, but that consistency of being that two-way player more than anything. But just he can do so much. He can rebound. He can pass. He can score. His competitive spirit is at a very, very high. He wants to win. But it's also like playing as a 5'11" guy. Like, you've always been doubted. He didn't get recruited. And so that just keeps that edge on him, and that's what makes him special.
I know you were always very vocal about saying that Trey Kaufman would become an all-conference player, and you were right. He has certainly become that. He's a very cerebral guy. Why has he been able to maybe take this jump to now be a guy that is really a player nationally?
Right. Yeah, his ability to make shots, like he makes very unconventional shots for somebody his size. He makes floaters, he makes runners. He's got great, just his ability to spin and have balance. To really kind of put people in the mix, the way he can use his pivot foot and keep spinning and you think he's stuck all the time. Like I said the other day in practice, I said like he has 3 or 4 times a day in practice where you think he's stuck and then he doesn't end up getting out of it and he ends up shooting and making it. Which when you get stuck, you're like, oh man, how did I get here? This is like, and he's just okay with it. Like he just keeps his poise. And other day we scrimmaged, and he was just unbelievable in the shots that he was making in the scrimmage. But he does it all the time. He's just got a knack to score. Got to get him rebounding a little bit better. I think not having to wrestle with those fives will really help him kind of run free a little bit, and hopefully we get some more rebounds from him.
You talked about the depth. What are the challenges for a coach to coach a team that has 12 really good players?
Yeah, I think people always look at depth the way they look at always playing 2 bigs together. They always think it's better. And I always say about playing 2 really big guys together, like, are they any good to start with? Like a lot of people will say, well, you guys play 2 bigs. You're like, yeah, but they're good. They're good players. Like you got to it still comes down to quality. So I think for us, you like to play more people, but that means your best players aren't going to play as much. So like I'm having a tough time like not playing Braden Smith. Like, you know, it's people like, hey, give him a couple breaks here. I said, well, I'll just shorten practice 10 minutes. Like if that's the load, if it's actually his legs that you're thinking of and kind of being fresh, you know, within an actual game. But, you know, I think for us, it's just kind of playing things by ear. Like, will you play, you know, 8 guys, 9 guys? I've always struggled to play 10 people. I've tried it 2 or 3 times. But as the season progresses, it gets closer to 9 or 8. But most coaches, when you have great players, you have a tough time taking them out.
Did you lessen practice time in 2010?
In 2010? No, I did not.
I didn't think so.
No, I have less than practice time now. I know you don't like to hear that, but I have.
You grew up around the Indiana rivalry with Purdue. What is it like for you, I guess, just to have grown up in this state, to have played in the rivalry, and now to have coached in
Yeah,
this rivalry?
it's cool. You know, it's one of the things that, you know, you really look forward to in a season. Like you always look at your schedule and you're like, oh my goodness, it's a bear. You're like, how do you get through all of it? Like, how do you get to it? But you always look at particular games, whether that's Indiana or Michigan State or whoever you collide with the most, Wisconsin, you know, Ohio State has had a lot of success in our league. So just the, you know, those type of programs, but your in-state rivals, always the one that you look forward, you know, to playing and competing, especially at their place, because that's obviously the toughest.
Yeah. You've made 10 straight NCAA appearances, 8 straight as a 4-seed or better. You've made the national championship game 2 years ago. You're only 55, and you certainly, if you want to keep coaching, could break Purdue records, Big Ten records. You know, what, I guess, motivates you to keep going at this point?
Yeah, I would say more than anything, it's just that you haven't won a national championship. I mean, just that ultimate goal of doing it. But also the motivation of piecing a team together. Like I enjoy, I get frustrated with some of the rule changes, but I actually enjoy like trying to get things figured out to do what's best for Purdue, you know, more than anything. But we've been able to do it both ways, where other people have went one or the other, mostly the other in terms of, you know, going into the portal and so on, like trying to get that balance of what's right for next year's team. And I think that's going to be really important for me and our staff more than anything, is just keep in perspective that this has worked for you right now. It doesn't mean it's going to always work for you going forward, and trying to be able to see that when the storm's coming.
Tell me about the whiteboard, and why did you put what you put up there?
Yeah, I did it initially because A.J. Hammond's like couldn't hear what we were saying. And I wanted to know like why he couldn't hear us, but everybody else could. And so I was like, hey man, like everybody else is getting this and you're not. So I was just like, hey, we can't fight this. We're going to a whiteboard. And then once we did it, now we went in terms of changing our vernacular to everything meaning something. So now they can process it. If they know the meanings of the words, which they should know the meanings of the words, like now they can process it. So now we can go to it quick. But we would get certain places, Mackey being one of them, to where when we called out, you know, verbal play calls, they couldn't, you know, it was just tough to hear in certain games.
Yeah.
Not in all games, but in certain games.
Was there ever a time that maybe if there were expectations, you didn't emphasize them? Like, or have you always felt like if there's high expectations, you embrace them?
Right. Yeah. Always embrace them. Like it doesn't guarantee anything. Like you still have to go out there and prove yourself and win games. But where I made a mistake last year is not talking about getting back to the Final Four. Like my emphasis kind of went to piecing things together, especially when Daniel Jacobson went down. I was like, what can I do here to help our team as we've had to shift here? But we had enough to get to a Final Four. I don't know if we had enough to win a national championship, but the way things landed for us in the tournament, we had enough. Like we very easily could have been in that Elite Eight game. And I think that would have been a very, very competitive game for us at that time.
Yeah.